Have you ever stopped to think about what it really takes to tear down a system? I mean, a system of oppression that's been standing for centuries. Today, we're jumping into the incredible story of Kerala, a state in South India, where a few unbelievably courageous people lit a fire that started a full-blown social revolution. So, that's the big question, isn't it? How do you actually remake a society? We're going to dig into this by looking at a super important moment in South Indian history, a time when the most powerful weapons weren't swords or guns, but ideas.
And in this explainer, we're really going to zero in on the people themselves, the individuals whose small acts of defiance sparked a massive fire of social change that, honestly, is still shaping Kerala today.
But look, before we can really get how brave these reformers were, you have to understand the world they were up against. A world so rigid and divided that the great spiritual leader Swami Vivekananda famously called it a lunatic asylum.
Yeah, you heard that right.
So, picture this. 19th century Kerala, especially the Travancore region, your entire life is dictated by a strict caste hierarchy. It decided which roads you could walk on, the clothes you were allowed to wear, even who you could speak to. Forget about getting an education or a decent government job. That was completely off the table for most people.
So where does the first crack in this wall appear? Well, the first major challenge came from a man who, if we're looking at the timeline, was Kerala's very first social reformer. His work started long before many of the more famous names you might have heard of.
His name was Ayya Vaikundar. Born into the oppressed Nair community, he wasn't just a spiritual guide, he was a political force. He got his people organized, giving them the courage and the framework to fight back. And his influence directly lit the fuse for the historic Chanar revolt, a fight that lasted for decades, all for the basic human right of Nair women to cover their upper bodies. Now get this date in your head, 1836. Because in this year, Vaikundar did something that was just completely unheard of at the time. It was a foundational act of rebellion that would literally change the game in Kerala. He created the Samatwa Samajam, which means the Society for Equality. Think about that. In a world built from the ground up on inequality, he founded the very first social organization in the entire region with one single goal: equality for all. This was absolutely revolutionary. He basically wrote the blueprint for organized social action that everyone else would follow.
And this was his powerful message, a direct shot at the fragmented, broken society he lived in. It was a rallying cry for unity that would just echo down through generations of reformers to come.
So, the first spark is lit, but the next wave of reformers started to think bigger. They didn't just want to challenge the social rules. They wanted to take a sledgehammer to the philosophical and religious ideas holding the whole rotten system together.
And that brings us to Brahmananda Sivayogi, a guy whose thinking was so radical he earned the nickname Guru of Atheists. His whole philosophy, called Ananda Darshanam, was so simple but so profound. He basically said the whole point of life isn't about pleasing some god you can't see, it's about finding happiness right here on Earth.
I mean, he wasn't just trying to tweak religion. He wanted to replace it with a philosophy all about human well-being. In his writings, he argued that all these complex rituals and superstitions were just tools to keep people poor and scared. He wanted to free them with logic, reason, and the pursuit of Ananda, pure happiness.
Okay, so challenging big ideas is one thing, but other reformers decided, you know what, words aren't enough. They took the fight directly to the streets with bold, radical actions designed to smash social taboos right out in the open for everyone to see.
Meet Sahodaran Ayyappan. He was a follower of the legendary reformer Sri Narayana Guru, but he felt his teacher's message needed a practical push. He wasn't just going to talk about equality. He was going to create these moments that forced everyone to stare it right in the face.
So, in 1917, he organized the Mishra Bhojanam, or mixed meal. Now, this might just sound like lunch, but you have to understand the shockwaves this sent. Ayyappan was from the Isava community, which was oppressed itself, but he sat down and shared a meal with members of the Pulaya community, who were considered so low that even being near them was seen as polluting. This one meal was a complete and total defiance of caste law. And the backlash? It was instant, and it was harsh. But here's the crazy part. It didn't come from the upper castes you'd expect. It came from inside his own Isava community. They were furious that he broke the rules by eating with people they had been taught were beneath them. The orthodox Isava leaders started calling him Pulaya Ayyappan, trying to shame him by linking his name with the very people he ate with.
But Ayyappan was brilliant. He didn't just brush it off, he embraced it. He started using the name himself, turning their insult into a badge of honor and this incredible symbol of his fight for absolute human unity.
And he didn't stop there. He even famously took his own guru's powerful slogan and revised it. While Sri Narayana Guru called for unity with one caste, one religion, one God, Ayyappan pushed it even further, towards pure humanism. His version? No caste, no religion, no God for man. Just an amazing testament to his belief that humanity itself should be our highest ideal.
So you've got these individual acts of rebellion all happening. Vaikundar's organizing, Sivayogi's philosophy, Ayyappan's radical meal. And when you get enough of these sparks together, you eventually start a fire that just can't be put out. The movement for social change became unstoppable.
You can literally draw a straight line from these early rebellions to the massive organized movements that came later. Vaikundar's model for an organization and the kind of direct action thinking that Ayyappan sparked directly paved the way for things like the Vaikam Satyagraha in 1924, a huge struggle just for the right to walk on a public road, and ultimately the historic temple entry proclamation in 1936.
And here's why all this matters so much. The actions of these rebels and so many others laid the actual groundwork for the modern progressive Kerala we see today. Their fight created this strong civil society that was built on a really revolutionary idea, that people, when they act together, can actually shape their own future. So the story of these rebels isn't just a history lesson, right? It's a powerful and timeless example. It shows us how just a few brave people, armed with radical ideas and even more radical actions, can completely reshape the world they live in. And it leaves us with a pretty important question to ask ourselves. What walls are still standing in our society today? And who's going to be the one to tear them down?